This is Hannibal here with a daily wrestling news update for you. Very interesting news. NXT's rating actually went down. Well, they had the same actual rating as last week, but they only had 718,000 viewers this week. Last week they had 768,000. That's interesting because Cody Rhodes was on this week, who's supposed to be this big star, and the rating itself didn't move. It still did a zero point 0.2, and less people watched. Of course, they also had Jordan Grace on this week, and they've been using other TNA wrestlers like Ash by Elegance as well. But I mean, it's already wearing off. We've seen ratings drop. Raw rating was only 0.50 last night. SmackDown rating was also down. Ever since WrestleMania, of course, with The Rock not appearing anymore and Roman Reigns out of it, Cody's run with the ball is not. He's not holding steady running with the ball. Let's just say. Of course, there's some type of collaboration with WWE and TNA, whether they're helping fund it. Uh, I would say probably seems like this is just an educated guess. It seems like they either own it or it's an ECW type deal where they're helping fund it. They're doing a crossover just like they did with ECW, and they'll eventually buy it. Who knows? But one interesting thing that came out today is, for one thing, Jordan Grace said publicly she would love to see an NXT versus TNA combined show, which of course she's probably not going to say that unless it's going to happen. And the other thing that came out was Scott D'Amore, who was fired back in February, I guess is still being paid until next February by Anthem despite being fired. So it's like a lot of people were cleaned out, but there's weird stuff. Maybe it was in his contract that they couldn't fire him, and if they did fire him, they'd still have to pay him. But maybe it's just like there's new people in control of it that didn't want like an actual TNA executive running things because maybe it's not. Who knows? Who knows? Obviously, people aren't finding it as interesting. The ratings went down this week. Eventually, that's going to wear off. It's not. It's not like Impact's popular. They rarely even do a 0.01 rating. Women of Wrestling actually beat it most weeks. However, the name TNA still means something because in the past they had guys like Hulk Hogan, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Ric Flair, Mick Foley, etc. Speaking of Ric Flair, I didn't even report it a few days ago that he had claimed that the three-headed monster of Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, and Jim Herd were the real killers of WCW. He has now apologized for saying that. Who even cares, honestly, who killed WCW? It's gone. I liked WCW at various points better than WWE. I've never liked AEW better than WWE. I actually don't like either product, but I still, if I had, actually, I wouldn't actually want to go see either of the product unless like The Rock was wrestling for WWE or Roman Reigns. I wouldn't actually want to see it. I went to an AEW show a couple months ago, which they were nice enough to give me 3 tickets for. I couldn't sit through the whole thing. I left after Collision. Wouldn't say it was horrible, other than a bunch of people no-showing the show that were supposed to be there and advertised. But I was ready to go by the end of Collision. I didn't want to sit through the rest of the tapings to see all these Ring of Honor people. But anyways, I'm just saying I'm not biased. I wouldn't want to see any of. I really wouldn't want to go watch any of the products. To be honest with you, I don't like any of them. Nothing interests me. There's no star that stands out to me. If Ric Flair were to come and appear for AEW, I'd probably go watch it. to be honest with you. Or if The Rock would appear for WWE, I'd want to go watch it. But other than that, I really would not want to do it. I have way better stuff to do with my time. Apparently, speaking of TNA and AEW, one of the TNA office people that is no longer with TNA has now started with AEW. He was at Collision. I think it's RJ Evans is his name. He was at Collision on the weekend, and he's going to be at Dynamite this week. So there you go. You know what? Honestly, say what you want about Vince Russo. Why do you hire people from TNA that averaged 200 people last year to the show, and the show does abysmal ratings? Let's bring them on to Collision. Let's bring them on. Maybe they'll help ratings. They're failing in TNA. That product might be absorbed by WWE. Let's bring them on. Maybe they'll make a difference in AEW. When you have, you know what, I'm not saying make Vince Russo the head writer, but like it's funny that like at least he had success some places and people would watch at least for a bit to see the differences he would make. But to me, like you're hiring producers that freaking from a company that sucks, possibly even worse than your own company. By the way, thank you to Kayfabe Apparel for sending me this Blackjack shirt, not the knockoff Blackjacks that Bradshaw. I mean, they could have done better. I like Bradshaw and I like Barry Windham, but the knockoff Blackjacks could have done better. This is the real Blackjacks. And kayfabeapparel.com. They got some cool stuff. If you use the promo code Hannibal, you get 10% off. And by the way, I wouldn't be ashamed to wear this at the gym. I would be ashamed to wear just about any other shirt other than The Rock of any current wrestler. Doing great, had a good workout, training hard, wrestling June 29th in Napanee, Ontario. And August 31st, I am teaming with the Warlord, managed by none other than Katie Lee Burchill, aka Winter from TNA in Petawawa, Ontario. And we are probably going to film the wrestling scene for the Blood Hunter movie that I am going to finish this year. It started a couple years ago, but there was some delays that were outside of my control. But yeah, we're probably going to also film the wrestling scene for that movie August the 31st. Cody is, yeah, I mean, I was just watching, everybody saw, well, a lot of people saw my parody that I did the other day of Ric Flair at the pizza place. I watched a bunch of Ric Flair promos before I did that, and I actually enjoyed them. And it made me think, like, when I haven't watched a pro. I mean, some of The Rock's recent stuff was decent, but like, there's nobody today that has promos like Ric Flair. It's all boring speeches. One guy goes in the ring, talks for 5 to 10 to 20 minutes. Another guy comes out. They stand in the ring. Half the time they don't fight. They just talk to each other. Then it's over, and we've just wasted a bunch of time. We've all fallen asleep. I mean, why are promos so long now? Another one of my friends brought it up the other day. Like at one point in time, promos were like 3 minutes max. Now the talking just drones on and on and on and on. Yeah. There you go. I was having fun the other day, and someone challenged me to sing Rap is Crap, which is a great song. The West Texas Rednecks were underrated in WCW. Grandma Daisy Piper is doing well. Anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in. Sorry, Cody. I mean, you're trying to brag that this is your Renaissance era and all this. You can't even pop a rating going to NXT, which is, and that, you know what? That was their post premium live event, which is what they used to call pay-per-views. they just had a premium live event over the weekend, Battleground. So not only did the post pay-per-view or premium live event show go down, but Cody's appearance also didn't bring it up. And by the way, Cody reunited with Ethan Page, Sean Spears, and Brian Pillman Jr. backstage, the AEW guys that are in NXT now. So I'm glad they had fun, but they couldn't pop a rating.